Call to order this regular meeting of the Killingly Inland Wetlands and Watercourse Commission, and we'll start with the roll call. Do you want to do it, Jonathan? And Karina did message that she is at the hospital with her mother.
Yeah, we have a couple members that are absent with notification. So Karina is absent with notification, Paul is absent with notification, and Rodney is also absent with notification. So that being said, Chris McDonald.
Here.
Amy Sterling.
Here.
Sandy Eggers.
Here. And Amy, you will be acting as a full regular voting member this evening, which I think will be probably a pretty regular occurrence, because even though it's only a quorum of 3, if we're missing anyone from a regular spot,
Yeah, you
would be
get
acting
so many voting. Yep.
as a full voting member. Okay, first item would be adoption of the minutes of the March 4th, 2024 regular meeting. You had a correction on the spelling of your name in it?
Yes. It's McDonald, not MacDonald. It's just for the record. I don't care.
On the
but
minutes?
In the
Yes.
minutes, yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
No.
Is that a motion to accept them as corrected?
I make a motion.
Amy, is there a second?
Motion seconded.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, citizens' participation, is anyone here for anything other than an application this evening? No? Okay, so we'll move on to unfinished business. First one being Louis and Tina Merchant for filling of 2,830 square feet of wetlands to create a yard and install a pool at 18 Kent Street.
And forgive me, normally I try to throw the maps up there. This is still not seeing the server right
We're
now.
lucky that we've
So
got anything.
I have hard copies. Norm has stuff too, I believe.
For anyone that's not aware of it, everything went down in this town hall last week due to a leak upstairs is what started it, and then everything went downhill from there.
Thank you for the record. Norm Tebow, Killingly Engineering Associates. As we left it last month, there were a couple of items that we talked about. One of the things I think that Rodney requested, he had some question regarding Joe Thoreau's report regarding the functionality of the wetlands, and after doing the filling that we're proposing here, how would the wetlands continue to function? And I think in particular, they talked about velocity and so forth. So just to kind of give you guys a recap, yes, this shaded area up here, for lack of a better explanation, is the quote-unquote dry part of the wetlands. There's never really any standing water in that particular part of the records, but of the wetlands, but they do exhibit hydrate conditions where they have an elevated water table within 12 inches of the surface for a good portion of the year. So the area along the road, as we observed on the site walk, that's the area of standing water. I believe that we were told that ultimately the town is going to be trying to jet that pipe from that catch basin, because that catch basin is supposed to flow to the north to another catch basin, and then there is also some drainage coming from the north that flows to a basin which ultimately drains across Kent Street to the west behind a home to a large flat area over there. The pooled area that we're showing that's along the road there will remain, and that is the area, at least according to Mr. Thoreau, that actually provides some attenuation and some treatment of any stormwater that might get to that area. So I asked Joe to sort of augment his report a little bit. I mean, his report does say his conclusion of his report says, I see no direct or indirect impacts to the wetland watercourse hydrology as part of the proposed development, aside from the filling. So he makes that statement in his original report. And to follow up on that, I asked him to take a look at it and give us an assessment of an area of the report that Rodney was concerned with. So I have a letter from him dated March 11th. It says, "Dear Mr. Tebow, thank you for making me aware of one of the Commissioner's questions about my comments regarding the movement of water within the wetlands on the property. The velocity of the water moving through or within a wetland is one of numerous qualifiers/disqualifiers when evaluating the wetland functions for sediment/toxin removal and retention and nutrient removal. Significant flow volumes and velocities transport sediments, toxicants, and nutrients through a wetland instead of trapping them so that they may be retained or removed. Hydrologic inputs into the wetland include for this wetland includes surface stormwater runoff in the form of sheet flows from the gently sloping uplands, groundwater breakout, and stormwater runoff associated with Kent Street. All of these inputs have little or no velocity due to the lack of significant topographic gradient in and adjacent to the wetland. Any potential sediments and pollutants associated with Kent Street or nutrients from lawn fertilizers will be either trapped altogether or will be retained for a significant period of time, thus allowing for the nutrients to be absorbed by the vegetation or neutralized by nitrogen-fixing bacteria present in the wetland soils. In conclusion, if you have any additional questions or concerning the delineation of this report, please feel free to contact me. That's signed Joseph Thoreau. So, to sort of expound on Joe's comment a little bit, one of the things that the 2004 State Stormwater Quality Manual really kind of drives forward, and something they really push for, is to are the development of what they call wet basins or stormwater wetlands. And even though this isn't a constructed basin, it really does sort of function in that manner, in that you've got this, this elongated wetland area, and ultimately what'll happen, you've got that pipe that is set in the wetlands. It's actually set higher than the pipe outlet of the catch basin. So once that catch basin is functioning properly, the bulk of the water from Kent Street is not going to end up in that.
Now, have you
water.
gotten the update, or has Alec filled you in yet on what went on with the pipings?
No.
With the pipe in that neighborhood? I'm just curious, as I'm sure you are as well.
I've been
Yeah.
chasing it down since the last meeting, multiple phone calls, check-ins. Have you gotten to the pipe yet? The answer was no. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna forget about it, but
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
in the works.
Yeah, it's, like everyone else, I know that they're, with the amount of rain that we've had lately and the weather and so forth, I know Public Works is pretty overwhelmed with a lot of the
yeah.
stuff that they're trying to deal with, more emergency things than maintenance things at this point. So, also, one of the other things, we took a look at, because, because we are proposing to fill wetlands here, we have to talk about feasible and prudent alternatives. Feasible meaning that it can be done consistent with sound engineering principles. So there are very few things that aren't feasible. I mean, if people want to throw money at it, you can
You can engineer anything if you spend enough money.
you can engineer pretty much anything, But I think you have to weigh that. Prudent means reasonable in light of the benefits to derive from the proposed activity for the homeowner. I think one of the the obligations of the Wetlands Commission obviously is to protect wetlands. That's why you guys are here. We understand that fully, but also it's to allow for responsible development while considering the rights of the property owner as well. So we try to seek that balance. I've been before this commission for, I think this is my 27th year doing this. I don't take filling wetlands lightly. We come in here, we try to provide a responsible plan. We consult with the experts that know this stuff better than I do. I'm not a soil scientist. I'm not a wetlands biologist. I have to rely on Joe Thoreau's reports and his opinions on this. And based upon the couple of things, the couple of reports he's written, His belief is that the actual functionality and the potential for sediment or nutrient removal remains intact with this design, because the area that we're filling is not an area that typically holds water and provides any kind of nutrient or sediment removal. But
You know, though, as we get going, I think we owe it to our two members that were actually 3 members that were at the site walk and not able to attend today, to just once again reiterate some of their concerns. And I don't want to speak on someone else's behalf, but you were there as staff. And I think the biggest question was, why was there really a need to fill that area? A true
Right.
need. You know that we don't get that picky. You
Yeah.
know that when it
Mhm.
comes down to a practical use and a real purpose, that
right.
that we typically understand. But I don't think anyone really had a true appreciation of why it needed to be filled,
Yeah.
other
Well-
than
Well, it's
you could.
no, not because he could. I mean, he has the need for a garage. Right now, he's got vehicles parked all the way up and down the driveway. There's no garage right now for his vehicles.
Okay.
They got 3 vehicles there. They would like to do it. I showed a potential layout here. So if we lay a garage out in this manner over here, it doesn't work. We're within the setbacks. You can't have a driveway within 10 feet of the property line, so we can't create a zoning compliant situation there. If we orient it the other way, we can meet the setback requirements and we can meet the separation requirements between the 2 buildings, because we have to look at building code and fire protection, and without having to do fire walls on 2 structures and things of that nature. We can do it that way, but you can only get the 2 vehicles in that way. He's looking for a 3-car garage. He's got 3 vehicles. He'd like to be able to garage them. And he's unable to do that with the garage on this side. As far as, filling the wetlands, the need there, or the desire there, is to provide some usable space for grandchildren. They do take care of 3 of their grandchildren, typically throughout the day. There really is no place in the yard right now for those kids to play. So they're hoping, in conjunction with building a garage, to be able to store their vehicles, kind of clean up the yard a little bit. He's just got a lot of stuff in that driveway. It's really kind of an eyesore. This is going to help, first of all, create a better situation, provide a neater, better-looking yard, give them some protection for their vehicles and so forth. And then, as a result, also with the grading that we propose, they're going to be able to create a flat area for their grandchildren to play in. They're young kids. I think the oldest one is only about 4 years old right now. So the yard is sloped in a manner right now where it doesn't really lend itself to kids playing out there. And they don't want the kids playing in the street. They want to keep them in the house all the time. So they originally bought 2 lots here. They bought the lot that their house was on, and this lot that the wetlands was on was actually originally a separate building lot. But because they were in the same ownership, it was a non-conforming lot ultimately when the zoning regulations came into effect, and the town automatically combines those if they're in the same ownership. So if this were under a different ownership, if this particular lot were in separate ownership, and it were a lot of record, we would have to come to you to
Figure out how to
build a
purchase
house, because you can't prevent someone from building a house there. I think what they're doing here by putting in a garage and creating a yard is a much lesser impact than what would have happened if this had remained a separate lot under different ownership.
I'm not sure, though, even if it came in as a house lot, though, Norm, and you know that too, that we wouldn't tell you, leave the wetlands and we'll figure out a way to fit the house in somehow, because just because it's a lot of record and you are entitled to put in a house,
Mhm.
you may not necessarily be able to put in your dream home.
Oh, right.
That's-
Absolutely. I 100% understand that. But, like I said, I think we have to consider the functionality of the portion of the wetlands that we're proposing to fill. in my opinion, and, you know, based upon my discussions and reading Joe's report, he feels that the functionality of the wetlands to remove nutrients and sediments from any stormwater that might gather there is not going to be diminished, because the portion up there that we're filling, all it does right now is just, you know, they're hydric soils with, you know, they
don't doubt that
they don't
either,
really
to be
do
honest with
anything.
you.
They don't really
It's
do
just that
anything.
it's tough because it's hard for us to sit here and for no great reason.
Right.
I'm probably not the person to say that
Yeah.
a kid shouldn't play in the
Yeah,
rougher ground because that's where I would have been
Yeah.
playing. I mean, I
Yeah.
just don't,
you know, and I just, you know, another thing too, though, you know, and, you know, nothing to do with this, but, you know, there are things I see going on around town,
that
you
are a
know,
lot worse than this.
that are a lot worse than this.
Oh, I get that
where
totally.
people don't come in and get permits to do
I
it,
get that totally.
you know, I mean, I could probably name 3 or 4 of them right off the top of my head, but I'm not going to do that.
No, I know
because
exactly
I'm
what you mean.
I'm not the police officer here. But, you know, all we're asking for is,
I'm
you know,
not the police officer here
you
either.
know, no, I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's sitting next to you.
Yeah.
But, I mean, all we're asking for is for allow someone to have a reasonable use of their property, you know, based on this unfortunate configuration.
Yeah, I was just,
with the
I'm just
wetland.
voicing what seemed very clear to me from the other members
Right,
after the initial meeting.
I
You all
can-
guys were all there too.
Yeah.
I can,
yeah. And
my own thoughts before you even spoke was how we want to accommodate.
Just make sure your mic's on.
Of
Amy.
course.
Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just for,
Yeah, just push that button.
We want to accommodate the owners. You know, everything that you said is true, but
Mhm.
how many times do we compromise the wetlands for the convenience of the owners? And how many times
Yeah.
does this happen? And I understand
Mhm.
the slope of the yard isn't so important to the, but anyway, I just wanted to put that on the table
That's
because.
Absolutely. And, you know, and my pitch, I guess for lack of a better term, is that you're not compromising the wetlands. We're proposing to fill an area that really does not have any value to it, other than it's wet.
Chris,
That's
you
it.
were out there, weren't you?
No, I didn't make it.
You did not make it that day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the staff? What do you guys think?
so I'm inclined to lean towards the expert's opinion in terms of the soil.
It's probably not a high functioning.
I don't believe it's
Wetlands, I
high
don't doubt
functioning at all. I previously went to, so the members that were able to attend the site visit, they saw a site that had been cleared, right, for the most part, like all the brush and a lot of invasives, not totally, but mainly, right, grubbed out. I had been there before when it was all infilled and it was full of briars and more invasive type
Invasives,
things. You would most likely see that reestablish, you know, because not for nothing, if it's a
That's what was
wetland, you
growing
really
there.
wouldn't be in there mowing it. You wouldn't, you know, like you shouldn't necessarily be in there mowing it. Or there's considered reasonable, you know, maintenance of those types of areas, but it's not a farming activity there clearly. So really, you shouldn't be in it. Unless you're looking to potentially fill. We you know, looking at the neighborhood, what's at the house just to the north of it, where
You can tell that was all filled.
that was definitely filled. There's curtain drains that look to be flanking the property that keep that area somewhat drained. Otherwise, I'm sure it holds some water, high rain thing. I'm sure it's very squishy out in that area. And if you went out there and did test areas, it might look like a nice lawn, but it might test, you know, with some hydric, you know, properties. I've seen larger filling on smaller projects, but this is a very small site, so it looks
Yeah.
very, very big.
What about the actual?
But I don't see I don't see the impact on a system. Like, it's not a
We
big
need
system.
though to
in
make
that
sure
area.
that we still maintain a channel that comes down there, and I'm just not
Oh.
sure that's.
Oh, it absolutely is. Yeah, we're not touching that channel. There's nothing going on in there. That channel, because you do have some drainage that comes in off the highway and kind of runs along the property line. As you saw, there is a just a little head wall there with a
Yeah.
pipe in it, that,
It
some of
goes
the water,
somewhere.
some of the water gets into, and, gets into the town's drainage system. But, in any of these overflow situations or anything that comes overland, ends up in that sort of sausage-shaped depression along the side of the road, a good portion of which was not even on his property. So, you've got the edge of the
In the right
pavement.
of way.
The edge of the pavement is essentially the edge of the wetlands there. And we're keeping that channelized area there.
What about on the side, though? I don't see good coming of that as they start to fill, and you're not standing there and you're not standing there.
Was that?
More on the side.
Closer to the property line?
Yeah, closer to the property line
To
to
the
the
north.
north. I don't see a lot of good coming of that once you're not there watching it.
Do you feel like there's an adequate area for it to drain along that edge, or do you think it should be a more defined, area? Like, should they pull back a little?
Pull it back from the property line? I mean, that's, absolutely, I
It
mean,
would
if,
seem like you would have to.
if
Otherwise,
that's-
that water's, I
Yeah.
can just see them, if they're hell-bent on filling, they're just gonna keep going.
yeah, I mean, if we, if we needed to flag it, I mean, we're not flagging up to the property line because you've got that tree line right there, those evergreens, arborvitae, whatever they happen to be, that are on that property line right now, so.
And I believe they're kind of mounded, right, going up
They,
too,
they are,
so-
they are kind of mounted, yeah, so that's kind of creating that,
Berm
that
takes it over.
channelized situation on both sides, both on the adjacent property and theirs. When water comes off, it, kind of splits on the top, and some of it may come down there, some of it may go on the other property. But, if it's something that the commission, wanted to pull it back another 8 or 10 feet, just to make sure that we maintain that opportunity for water to channel down there.
How big is the, from the property line, what's the width now?
Let me grab my scale.
What about a curtain drain
I think it
Yeah,
goes,
would you be
there? Like on
better
the other
off,
side of the property.
would you be better off
piping it.
yeah.
I
What do you
just don't
guys
know,
think?
like, it would probably be more of a French curtain drain
Yeah.
than anything else, yeah.
Would the trees have to come down, because they're important to the?
No, I don't think trees would have to come down for that, no.
About 10 feet.
So if we add another 10 feet.
But that 10 feet is the trees, so.
So
if you had another 10
if you're
feet,
holding
that should be
8 or
good.
10 more feet
If you hold another 8 feet off the edge of those trees, that naturally, because I think by the filling, what you're going to be doing is, kind of raising the grade a little bit over there, so you'll kind of maintain that channelized condition just by virtue of filling a little bit. And that allows
What
the water.
about by the road, what if we pulled that back a little farther too,
Here,
just to make us feel better?
push it back a little bit along the road.
Just make us feel better.
If I can make you feel better, Sandy, I'm all
No,
for
don't
it.
you guys agree? I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would go 10 feet
If you can do it, do it.
extra on that property
Yeah.
line.
Yeah.
Give that a 20-foot.
Give it 20 foot on the property
What
line.
do you think?
I think that might be a motion.
I think you're still getting a lot of yard.
But we need to make sure it's happening and not,
Well, we'll stake it out. If it's something, you can certainly condition an approval saying that it needs to be staked out in the field. The area,
Yes.
the area that is going to be filled needs to be staked out in the field.
Because I
Yeah,
agree,
and
I don't
then,
think it's some
you know, and
high
then-
value.
And then you can send,
wetlands.
then your wetlands agent can go out there and verify that it's staked correctly, prior to them actually filling out there.
And,
I
mean,
think you have,
pre and post construction conditions, like in terms of
Yeah.
us.
Yeah,
going-
you
and
can-
just don't fill as
you
close to the
can-
road either.
you
Bring that
can
back.
require-
How far do you say?
what do you got from the edge of the road to the end of that wetland? Just,
from the edge of, well, the road is pretty much the
Yeah.
wetland.
Yeah.
But right now,
What are you at now?
from the edge of the road to the edge of the wetland, we've got about 30 feet.
40 seems like such a nice number.
yeah. Let's go 20-40.
2040? 2040?
And are we-
That sounds like a motion.
are we
20-40.
still talking about the curtain drain? I know it's a
Yes.
separate
Yeah.
item.
Yes, now the curtain drain too.
And then I would add your Joe Theroux. I really was impressed with his knowledge of plants and
Oh,
all
he's
that
very
he
good.
added to his report.
Yeah.
And will the suggestion be recorded so that the landowners know how to plant that swale or whatever?
Yeah, what we're doing, we are proposing a wetland seed mix, because
Oh.
not all of it is going to be wet all the time. I think we do have a New on the second page of the plans, we specified a New England wet mix.
I remember you talking about.
And that has a variety of native plants that will come up in that area. And it'll help to kind of choke out the invasives that are there right now. You've got the barberry and the greenbrier and
There's
the
burning bush.
bittersweet and the burning bush, all those kind of things that are growing in there right now that you want to get rid of.
Okay, so right now, we're
Thank you.
at 20 feet from the north, 40 feet from the west, curtain drain, and
The,
clear
the seed mix
expectations on seeding and maintenance of the area.
Is the seed mix intended to be just in the area where it gets filled, or for any of the
No,
disturbed
it's
area?
not,
or
it's not in the area that gets filled. In the area that gets filled, you're going to have,
A yard.
you're gonna have a
Yard,
yard there.
traditional
But
yard.
beyond that, between the area that's filled and the area where there's standing water
Okay,
is where you'll have that
Does that sound like where we're
wetland
at?
seed mix.
that seems reasonable.
Yeah.
Having a level of that restoration in the
Right.
wetland,
Mhm.
it might make it more of value.
Yeah,
Ready to make
and I
this
think,
one.
you know, the state does consider that too. If you're actually enhancing the quality of the wetlands too, they consider that part of a mitigation plan as well, so,
And it will clear it up, that's true.
yeah. Yeah,
All
but-
right, go
All
for
right,
it.
so I'm gonna make a motion to add 10 feet to the north, so that's gonna bring it to 20 feet. And then for the west, we're gonna add another 10 feet, so it's going from 30 to 40 feet. The curtain drains
Along the north side.
along the north side, clear expectations on seeding and maintenance. And also, I would like to have some kind of boundaries placed,
Clearly state.
clearly staked. That's my motion.
All right,
Now, does the town?
we need a second first.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, any discussion?
Does the town clean out that ditch because they get filled with weeds? And don't they usually take a backhoe or something and?
Well, Alec, and forgive me if I missed something. Traditionally, the crew that works that area for plow removal inspect all the catch basins and are supposed to inspect drainage areas to try to identify needs for maintenance, and they work on a rotating schedule. Obviously, there was some need up in that area, and they're currently working with engineering to try to identify some of it. But with the wetland enhancements here, I think there just needs to be a level of coordination between the property owner and town staff, just to maybe address that. I don't think there's a need for a drainage easement because it's coming off, but there might be some enhancement or fixing of basins or something, I'm not sure.
They routinely clean the catch basins, and any blockages, things like that are removed, but to be honest, in terms of that swale, they probably would do less maintenance on that than anything else, just because due to the whole,
Wetland, yeah.
concern and everything, it might do more harm than good if they go poking and prodding in there, opposed to getting it nice and vegetated. It's blocked and it's creating a problem, of course, but typically, they would just suck out the catch basins and make sure nothing's blocked.
Let it go.
Our highway department routinely will reach out to us in wetlands to discuss
Yeah.
upcoming projects or emergencies or anything that might come up.
Great.
I will say that they went out there when it was first reported. They were literally out there within a couple of days to check it, and they cleared the pipe that was blocked going to the catch basin. They cleared that out a little bit, and they pulled some stuff out of there. And it was at that time that they realized that the pipe that flows to the north was completely buried, so.
All right, so then at this point, we have a motion to approve contingent upon moving back 20 feet total area to the north, 40 feet from the west, adding curtain drains, clear expectations on seeding and maintenance, and that it be clearly defined with stakes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
That one was the king of compromises, you do know that.
Hey, we all, if that's what it's all about, right?
Well,
If only Congress could do that.
it, there's got to be a middle.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Speaking of legislation
you
and
can't
everything,
just ignore it.
new stormwater, everything effective the 30th of March. So just
Yeah.
the 2 new manuals.
The brand new manual.
Yeah, which they're not offering printed copies of.
Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know.
I'm-
I don't like that.
Perfect.
I don't either.
Okay.
I just wondered.
You can get it off the website, it's full PDF, but one of them's like 1,000
I would
pages.
put some.
So there's drainage and then E&S.
At the
That
top
would
of
make
the
sense.
ditch, but they're not limited,
Yeah.
are they?
No,
And he mentions shrubs.
yes, that'll be good.
I was very impressed with that.
All right, next item. I won what the Yukon game at 9. And then get up to moderate it at 5. Application 24-1588 of the town of Killingly for drainage improvements on Cranberry Bog Road. Jurisdictional ruling. All right. Go for it, Alec.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alec Ethier. I work in the engineering office right next door here, and we're proposing to make a really small drainage improvement on Cranberry Bog Road along a curve that holds water and ices in the winter. So, one catch
It's
basin,
horrible there.
30 some odd feet of pipe, an end wall, and then a swale that Connecticut Deep kind of walked us through what they expect to see. So a little bit of riprap, a little bit of conservation mix, nice and flat, and then tapers into the pond. And obviously the whole thing here is the fact that it's draining into Tatro Pond, which
Is state property anyhow.
correct. So that required us to do the easement, the NDDB review, and so on and so forth. And
So at this point, this has already been well regulated.
oh yeah, Deep's been all over it for a while. So yeah, we've been through it all. We've been through the invasive plant thing, not invasive, but native, excuse me. And they did find it on site, like I said, but it's not within the project area, which is good. And it flowers in September through October.
What is it?
It's called a white snake root. It's a small white flower, about this tall. It's got a couple white petals on top.
Can you place it?
It's, doesn't it grow similarly to Joe Pye weed? Is it a flat head?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
You can't place it.
yeah. I do see it, and the edges. It's a handsome plant.
It's apparently pretty rare, though.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
according to the botanist that I spoke with, we had to hire a botanist to go out there, do a field review and everything, and he said it's not found in very many spots. This spot on Cranberry Bog being one of them. So I thought that was
cool.
interesting, but
Yeah.
the fact that it's out of the proposed work site
They
makes
didn't come up with any wildlife issues, or?
no turtles, no frogs.
I'm surprised, because there's a
Yeah.
lot of stuff over there.
Yeah,
No beavers?
the beavers were not a discussion. I'm sure there's got to be a lot of beavers in the pond, but the extra discharge isn't gonna. And I did the drainage calculations and what's gonna actually leave the pipe, and it's
You were generous, I'm sure.
I was generous, and it's an incredibly low flow rate that's leaving that pipe, so not very erosive, and
That's
it's
a larger area, Tatro Pond, than people realize.
Yeah, it is.
That's a,
and not.
how large is that? I'm just curious.
I have it. I've been over that. I don't recall off the top of my head, but it's you see a
It's
lot
much
of
bigger than you think.
ponded area, but then there's also a lot of
Bog.
bog, swamp-looking type area. And it's the head of Snake Meadow Brook, which then obviously flows down towards Starling area.
Yep.
So, but in terms of construction and everything, very straightforward, very simple.
All right, so, since it's a jurisdictional ruling, what do we need to do? Was that already? Jonathan. Jurisdictional ruling. Why does it say jurisdictional ruling?
Oh, okay. Well, so the idea behind it
We want to
was,
follow protocol here.
so it was initially introduced as potential for jurisdictional ruling. I think Rodney and everybody wanted to hear some more on
Yep.
it and kind of receive it and go through it, because there was some work in and around wetlands. It wasn't necessarily all existing pipe, right?
No, it's not a maintenance activity.
Yeah.
It's
new.
a new structure and pipe and
Wasn't
new outlet.
our intent more to make sure that that became our protocol, that something that was new construction rather than maintenance should come in?
Yeah, and that's is there activities that would trigger a larger application
Yep.
or a larger anything like that? So they'll come in as like jurisdictional because it's looking a little bit for clarity from everybody. If there's anything with filling, right, or any actual, even if it's a couple square feet, an agent can't approve it. So I can't just say, yeah, we're
Yep.
good. But if there's maintenance,
That's different.
sometimes a gray area. The maintenance, there is sometimes implied,
But I think that
impacts
what
at
we
the
want to
edge,
do is
so.
set the tone that whenever it's new construction, we definitely want it to come. This
Yep.
isn't a good example since this was already flowing out onto state property and has already been reviewed to death.
Yeah, it has the NCRS.
And they probably
and-
thought of things that we would not have been finding this.
Well, to be
This
clear,
plant.
this specific location that I'm talking about, there is not a pipe there already.
That's what I mean.
There should be, but, 200 feet to the east and then 200 feet north or whatever.
There are.
There's
Yeah.
more than one. I think there's actually three, which
Yeah.
all directly go to the pond.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yep.
what I mean.
And
But I mean, this is not a good example because this was going out to state property and
Right.
very well regulated long before we ever
Yeah.
saw it.
She's educating me as we speak.
No, but you know what I mean, that's a big
Yeah.
difference.
I have another one like later on that's kind of a funny one too. That's a unique one. So,
Yeah, that-
you'll get
you're
the
a funny
gambit of it. So
It's okay.
But yeah, no. So traditionally we'll go in. It's as jurisdictional, and that's the call. Think of it similar to a forced timber
Yes.
harvest.
Yep.
Sometimes it is, that is as of right. This might be something that's potentially conditioned, right? Or does that require a state permit? Does that require something else?
So we just like to know.
Yep.
and
So
moving forward, anything that we do, I always try to bring it to you guys just for the sake of doing it and
Of
not
spending a
agree-
Monday night in
I'm-
such a pleasant
It's
mood.
an awesome time, but why kind of sidestep it when we can just get it in the open?
And I think it would be an embarrassment to all of us if we let the town sidestep something.
Agreed.
We'd look like fools.
Yep.
And it's not a good look for us in
yeah,
engineering
we
either.
don't want to have to get brought in, or I don't want to have to bring in engineering on a show cause hearing or something. So
Right.
we want to just make sure we're all.
There's no earthly reason for the town not to be kind
You
of
know-
the model citizens.
And a lot of times you guys have good suggestions that maybe we didn't think of, and it can't hurt to add to the plan, by all
Yeah.
means,
So simply to go back to your question, in terms of jurisdictional, it's still a
It's still an
motion.
application at
It's
this
still an application. This has an application number. We kind of crossed that bridge a little bit the first night that we received the application and said, well, it seems to be a little bit beyond jurisdictional because
Because it
there
was new
was
construction.
there was a new structure, right? So, and we got that out, so there is a new structure, so that's why we're here. So it is, you can almost ignore the terminology in
that's
terms of
when I saw that.
jurisdictional.
Yeah, that's, now I remember.
But you can choose to make the
In
motion.
my life, so much
however
has
you
gone
like.
on in 4 weeks that was not popping to the top.
Yeah, no problem.
Not at all. But I don't think anyone, do either of you have a problem with, if anything, I think the people in that neighborhood are gonna thank you immensely. And the fire department will be very happy that they're not
And, I
pulling people out of the,
I don't know how many
they're
accidents
crashing, they're ugly, constant.
there's been there, but I
It
can't,
is as well.
it's not a good situation, and
No.
if we
Not
can make
attorney.
it go away, that'd be great.
Do we have a motion?
Oh, motion
Let her have this one. Approve?
to approve.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded to approve application 24-1588 of the town of Killingly as it was presented. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right.
So the next one is a timber harvest, but this one is a fun one because our regulations ask timber harvest, and the state of Connecticut generally asks timber harvest to send notifications,
Yep.
right? To namely staff, but also the Wetlands Commission. There are no wetlands on this application.
But it states that they have to apply.
Well, because it's looked at like a jurisdictional. Is there some regulated activity, or is there not a regulated activity? Okay. Now, this particular one I have been looking at for a while because there was also a easement agreement for access to the property. It's through a town of Killingly one in the industrial park.
I was gonna ask you if it was town property.
But the actual
Harvest is not?
harvesting is not on the town property. I believe, we're looking at our little area, but our standard trees is not the same. in that area. There is a drainage ditch, that's the only thing, that's on the Miyoshi property, that is, potentially, would be a wetland if somebody went out and tested it. But traditionally, when we're looking at, a forester's thing, timber notification, we're not dealing with an A2 survey. We're dealing with information that is on hand in best management practices. They're not proposing a crossing in that area. They're not proposing any impacts directly adjacent to or in that vicinity of that drainage ditch area. And the timber harvest is all outlined on the map. So staff's position on that particular one is this is a non-regulated activity.
Now, what do they plan to do there eventually? Obviously, that's a large piece of property.
This, I believe, is fully for tree health of that.
Oh, I
particular
meant the
stand.
property.
It's
Is
not.
that's a holding company that's Miyoshi America?
Miyoshi already has other portions of that property developed.
Oh, okay.
So they're just doing
Tree health work, and yeah, and it's for the health of that forest, thinning it out. You know, what we would like to see foresters doing all the time.
All right, so we would need a motion, though, that it is,
Yeah,
that it's all set, that it would be a jurisdictional ruling. you know,
yeah,
so.
it's basically essentially approved as of right.
Yep. Do you have a motion that's approved as of right?
I make a motion and approve as a rate.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Now, was there any correspondence before we make you
I
go
do
away?
have a little correspondence.
We'll
kind
trade
of.
people.
So I kind of have one. So just to make the last applicant wait as long as possible.
Well, we're gonna throw you out when we bring her on.
That's fine.
It's his wife.
Well, let me, I'll Mike explain this and then I'll pass it over. We received, from Archer Surveying, LLC, KWP Associates, a, existing conditional site plan, for 4 South Shore Road. This is right before applications, because so consider this as correspondence to the commission, because it's just making sure that they are applying appropriately. They are looking to add on to an existing house, I believe for the purposes of a garage, at a cottage at Alexander's Lake and the Alzad. So this is a cottage that does abut the water. Looking at it quickly and based off historical, my leaning was agent application, but that was what the applicant is asking. Is this an agent application, or do you want this to come to the commission? And if you don't have enough info on it or anything
Now, the
like that,
lake
we
is
can
a
always
world
put
unto
more.
itself with its own zoning regulations. It's called the Alexander's Lake Zoning Overlay District. There are no,
Because they're right at water's edge. and
Yes.
They don't have much room, and they don't even own it, right? Most of them.
huh,
No relation.
huh,
So
existing house.
between the house and the lake, is no activity, being proposed. The activity is on the other side of the house. But of course, as everything is in Alexander's Lake.
Everything's within a setback.
Yep, everything's within the setback. Now, traditionally, or upland review area, traditionally, if they were asking for like a shed or a garage across the street, which is a common one, if
Yeah.
many places, the same people they are leasing their cottage from owns the physical land, it's private, most of them are private roads, and own the physical land across the way, and let's assume there's enough area to put a garage across the way. They do typically fully under a zoning permit only. That's because it is a very unique area, and that's been the direction from the commission in the past. To look
the
at
other
each
side of the road.
on the other side of the road. This is not on the other side of the road, so the thought on staff's end would be this would at least be an agent application, because we're not adding new septic, we're not adding new wells, we're adding just maybe more surface area, new structure within the upland review area, and it's more of a consideration of lot coverage, normal drainage, normal setbacks and whatnot.
It doesn't seem like there's anything else that you're gonna come up with at the lake.
So, yeah.
You guys think, I mean, it's the lake.
And for historical, the Alexander's Lake Alzad allows for a 50% lot coverage on those lease tracts. And the setbacks are extremely forgiving. I believe it's 6
They're
feet.
more than inches.
Yeah, 6 feet on the side, 15 feet off of the rear, and I want to say it's only 10 off the private street. However, the association, depending on who you're dealing with, like say the leaders, right? The main Sheridan
Yeah.
part of the property, which is the majority of the people at Alexander's Lake, have increased in some part on their own because they own the land to say that they want a 20-foot right off the road. But that I've seen that varied. But that's a restriction placed essentially by a homeowners association.
They want a restriction of, it has to be 20 feet off of.
Off
has to
the
be 20
private
feet
road
off
to
the
allow
private
for
road.
parking in front of the
Yeah,
garage.
I see.
Or for when they go by, they do private plowing.
Yeah,
So when they plow,
Okay.
they're not just
Yeah.
avoiding houses.
yeah, yeah.
So it is a very unique space. The reason for the overlay is if you did not have the overlay, any application there
Nothing
would
would
trigger a variance, the need
Oh,
for a
yeah.
variance. Everything would be non-conforming.
Because can they even comply with the upland review area? You mentioned it, it seems like everything is just kind of squashed.
So
How much space there,
the commission has looked at certain types of applications
Mm-hmm.
before. And there are sometimes times when we would, at times, they're kind of run out of space in terms of options. But we've seen, a series sometimes of like 10 or 12 different little shed applications, all in the span of a summer, to go across the road. Everything is upland review.
Okay, so
And to not overload the commission to look at something that clearly has no impact.
Yeah.
That's always been left to staff. Being that staff all have done the agent application training with the state of Connecticut. But it is unique. There's not many places like this in Connecticut.
No. They meet all the requirements. There isn't gonna be anything that you end up changing.
Probably not, but there's we ask questions usually about the driveway material that's used, walkway material that's used.
Yeah, that's what yeah.
Yeah, lot coverage.
But you do
stuff.
that all of the time. That's
That
standard.
we have to look at all that for the zoning end of it. But that does leave
Stockpile
it-
during construction
Yep.
or anything like that,
And
typically everything leaves immediately.
the Lake Association does not want direct, runoff into the lake, stormwater, things like that. They want to try to keep stuff on the properties, sheet flowing, things like that. So, and they're pretty good at self-policing themselves with a lot of that stuff.
They're the biggest police in the whole
Yes.
state.
Not much happens at Alexander's Lake without many phone calls to us.
Everybody knows about it.
Oh, yeah.
Or they want to.
Well, this is a typical lot size, 0.1 acres. Actually, that's a good size lot.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, some of them are much smaller.
Many towns have that 1.5 acre.
In a downtown lake area.
This is 0.1.
It's a few
Small.
feet.
Yeah,
Very
Yeah.
small.
and that's a
Very, very
large
small.
lot at the lake. 0.1 acres, not 0.1.
So, the question being, because this is just
I would assume it'll
correspondence.
be an agent approval, wouldn't you guys? Because there's nothing
Yeah.
special about this one. Just don't let them make a foundation as a future house under their garage.
No,
I
so
mean,
we have to
we've
look
seen
at it.
all of those kind of
yeah,
things.
with all the stuff, they are limited in the zoning in terms of housing units. They can't create new lots necessarily. There's provisions against subdivisions and like different things. So it's a very unique area.
And 90% of it is owned by one group.
Or a
These are all,
couple.
you do not own your lot.
Sheridan.
Yeah, and he's, now it's leader, yeah.
Yeah, leader.
Yeah.
But
So they have their own laws.
So if you're okay with that one being
Yep, that one
agent,
should be fine.
generally, it doesn't require a vote or anything like that. I just wanted the feedback to give back to person before they submit.
Go away.
And now I'm going to go away.
All right, now we'll go back to staff report. Allison, now it's you.
Okay, authorized agent application 24-1584 of Woodstock Building Associates LLC for the demolition of existing house and renovation of existing barn into single-family residence with existing septic and existing well. 1497 Hartford Pike. So in February, we discussed, and based off your feedback, I did a partial approval. So I approved the renovation of the barn into a house, but we wanted further information before any approval for the demolition of the existing house. And then in March, there was no new acquired info, but today we have the applicant here to discuss the project.
All right, want to come tell us?
Here to gave you one, so I have two. All right. Good evening, my name is Sarah Blake, and I'm with Woodstock Building Associates, and I'm representing James Hamill and Lenore Feble, the homeowners at this site. Just to give a little backstory, I guess, and intent of what we're kind of doing here is the existing house, they are looking to convert the barn into their home so that way they can have aging in place and be able to maintain staying on the property as long as possible. So that's why we're converting the barn into their house, so they'll have a first floor suite, and the living room, kitchen, and dining is all open for future planning. So we want to be able to demo the existing house to comply with zoning, and then also they do not want a second house on their property. They have no intent of renting it. They don't want it there, so they want to be able to demo the existing home. They have the existing well and the existing septic on the site. So we are trying to work with the existing well, and then there will be adjustments that need to be made to the existing septic system. Right now, the existing septic, the D box is close to the existing house, so we are looking to basically abandon that and then do a new distribution box up near the existing house, near the barn, to tie into the existing septic system. We currently have set up silt fence around the barn, but we have not set up any of the silt fence for the rest of the area because that would be, once this is approved, if this is approved, and before the work would be complete.
Ebony's killing me. On 101.
It's right before going into Rhode Island.
Yeah, it's
It's
up
up
by
far.
all the ponds.
Mhm.
You're in the middle of the water.
Yeah, there's wetlands, I think, on both, there's wetlands on either side.
Quinn Hill Road.
Yep. So how are they progressing on their renovations at this point?
At this point, the walls have been poured for the addition. We have no intent of touching the water and septic until the end, well, very close to the end, because they are living in the house as long as possible. And then they would be looking to demo the house and adjust the utilities once the barn conversion is basically complete.
So,
And when you demo the house, it's just gonna be turned back into,
Yeah, we're
Existing
gonna
house area?
demo the house and then seed and then try to maintain similar grade that's there. The intent is to have as minimal impact to the site as possible.
See, what they're calling the existing house is actually what she's referring to as, see, the proposed renovations are there. So that's how they're,
but this is gonna come down?
no, this one is, right?
Oh,
The front.
okay.
Where it says existing house is
Up in the
oh,
front.
sorry, they both say existing house.
Yeah. Up
The
in
one
front is
closest to the
coming down
road.
All right.
Once everything is done here.
Okay, so this is really a barn right now?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
And they're getting some off that road.
Yes, it's a very beautiful property, but right now that is a very busy road. So having this house back
Yep.
is a lot.
You mean Route 6?
101.
101.
101.
And then the new water line will kind of follow the line of the existing driveway, trying to keep it away from
it's
the
gonna make it all the
wetlands.
way down there, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Keep it away from the wetlands as much as possible. So we're getting as close to that driveway as we can.
Where's the septic?
Septic system is way up front.
Yep, so there's a circle next to the existing building.
Yeah.
That's where the D box is, and that septic runs all the way back. So it runs straight back and it comes, past the side of the proposed renovation where we're doing the addition.
Yep.
And it goes back, is a pump system, and it goes all the way back to, the back end of the property. The septic is really far from, it's behind the barn.
Okay, so actually the septic is gonna end up being closer and
Being
everything else
closer.
is gonna be abandoned.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But your well's far though, huh?
Yeah.
Now, at this point, it doesn't look like it's gonna end up being a problem, but it should end up coming in as an application when it comes, because you're just surrounded by, totally surrounded.
Yeah, we're close to the wetlands on, which side is this?
Everywhere.
Yes. But near the house, it is establishing the silt fence and working with town staff to make sure that they come out, check, they came out, checked our silt fence for the addition, and for us to make sure we work with them and, one, get the silt fence established, have them come out and inspect it, and then trying to get that house
How close
demoed.
do you think you are to demolition?
How close are we to demolition? We still have
Just
all
started the renovations?
It's gonna be a few months, probably, before we get to that point.
And you're coming in off of 101, did you say? Or-
Well, nothing's changing, yeah.
Yeah, nothing's.
That's where the road is now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is the house, they're just moving to their
All right, So you
backyard.
can see these houses from
Oh, yeah.
101? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's also being mindful of the weather when they do take down, we're not gonna take it down while, right now we're dealing with a lot of rain. We wanna be able to make sure we take it down when it makes the most sense and
And
that we're
also
not
when
gonna have
probably when
any
they can move to
impact.
the other one, so they're not
Yes.
homeless in between.
Yeah.
So the question would be, getting the water line back there. That's what would still have to be done,
Yes.
that you would need a permit for. Right? Or did you include that in your,
This whole scope of work is already included in the authorized agent application.
Yeah.
So when ideally, I would want what your conditions of approval would be that I would include when I sign off on the remaining part of work for the authorized agent application.
I mean, you do have showing silt fence from basically the whole length of that property line from in front of where the existing house is, past like the well, and then going all the way back out.
I don't think that that we'd end up coming up with making you do anything else, do you? Because you're gonna run the water line.
Yeah.
You're gonna run the water line down the existing driveway anyhow.
I know in February when we discussed it, the big concern Rodney had was that the wetlands delineation was outdated, so they've done an updated one.
Yep.
So I think that was his major concern, was finding out if the wetlands were still similar to the original delineation they had, which,
And then there was also an error, I believe, in my first kind of showing where the water line was. I was showing the water line coming on the opposite side, which was bringing it closer to the wetlands. Now we tried to bring it as far away as possible, and then also making sure we're staying on the other side of where that house is being demoed, because we don't want it to go through there.
My only concern is that well gonna be able to pump to the new building,
Yeah.
okay? Because say if it doesn't, and we have to do another well,
Yeah.
does that have to come in front of us again?
that would be a different application,
It'd be
yeah.
a different application, yeah.
Mhm.
That's my only concern, because I think that's a long distance, but if you say it's pressure tested and it's flow tested,
What's the thing on this? It's probably not as far as we think. Sometimes looking at these. it's tricky.
know,
Like, I'm thinking that house is closer to the road than you think, too.
yeah.
How many acres is this property?
Oh, it should be on here.
It's on the agenda, let me see. It's not on the agenda.
It's not on there. It should be on here. Tell me slacking.
It's a large part, because this is only a portion of their property. Like, there's more, if you look, there's more to the property than just what's shown on this plan.
So do they own a lot of the wetlands that are out there? It's kind of unavoidable, isn't it?
Yes.
I would assume everything else that they own is wetlands, because there, basically, you had one sliver you could get a house on. How old is that house?
The existing, I don't know the date off the top of my head.
From someone that just had to do it last week for the fairgrounds, You're gonna have to do an asbestos test, even if it was built last year and you want to demolish it.
Yeah.
We thought that if it was within so many years, but you don't, you have to do it. Even if it's brand new construction, you have to have the thing on record for us to abandon that and take it down.
The parcel is 30 acres total.
All right, so I don't think that we're gonna be coming up with much anything else then, are we?
No, and I don't believe you need a motion for the,
So you were just showing us.
yeah, I just wanted to hear if you had any conditions that you think ideally I should
Any more?
include when I do my sign off.
If they had to drill a new well, that isn't even necessarily something that would come into us,
Nope.
I wouldn't think.
Even though it's near the wetlands.
NDDH, right?
Yeah, it would be the health department.
Hmm.
It would be the health department, meet there. No question it's far enough away from the septic system. I think the well's closer to what they're moving into than the septic system was to the current house, don't
I
you?
know, huh?
Can you think of anything else that we'd have them do?
Nope, it's all fenced
Lots of
up.
silk fence,
Yep.
Yes.
lots of silk fence. Oops, is that my joke? Oh, that was, all right, I think we're set then.
Thank you.
Does that mean you can come back?
I believe so,
I don't fold things,
if he
right?
wants to.
Go home.
All right, anything else?
I mean, there's at least like 3 more hours left of this meeting, right?
No.
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 Okay.
I think the women are tipping off in 50 minutes.
UConn?
UConn women are tonight.
Oh, okay.
Men and women were both Saturday, and then the men won't play again until next Saturday. All right, what else did you have for a report?
Okay. Well, so next would be town council liaison.
Yeah, and there isn't any?
Which I do not see one here. I know we are into
Budget
budget
season.
season, right around there. I would encourage individuals to look at the town calendar on the town website, or you might be able to get the information directly from the town manager's office. I'm sure it's also posted downstairs. We have a bunch of different types of meetings that are coming up. There is
The actual budget hearing meeting that adjourns to referendum should be the same night as our May meeting.
Probably, yeah. Which, depending on the commission, if the commission wants, or what we're seeing for workload, we could, even move if we needed to. If we are on same nights as budget, we usually are not on Facebook. We're in person only, just because of the
We
logistics.
bumped them one night.
Yeah, and
That did not go over well.
my ZBA almost did it before too, and I have ZBA coming up on the same night they first kick off at the high school. So I've already been told not to, that's not happening. So, but with that, there's another one here. It wasn't, I don't think, verbatim to use, but it's something on the horizon. Vitus Energy is coming in and is in a municipal communication period prior to full submission to Connecticut Siting Council. Vitus Energy is looking in where they were talking about the NTE project, the power plant project. That is not something anymore. Vitus Energy is looking to put battery storage facility on instead, which is not a generator per se of power, more of a storing and off peak hour storing area, and then they sell it back to the grid. That's the
So this is a siting council.
It is a siting council
Sideshow
one,
again.
and it will be one. I've looked at cursory at the draft plans, but as we know, draft plans can sometimes change before they get submitted. Currently, it meets many of the metrics that we'd be talking about in an agent application. There's no proposed filling. They're more than 100 feet away from everything on the site, but they are within 200 feet in some regards in certain areas. They also currently appear to be proposing an activity that meets zoning setbacks and whatnot, front setbacks, side setbacks, all of that, which is different than what
That's quite
NT
surprising.
Yeah, these are much more, they're considered green, and they're considered less impactful generally. But I do have a bunch of literature on it. I'm reading up myself on it currently because I know we will be getting to a point of
Can
doing.
you send up some, I'm just curious because I don't know
I
anything,
can look.
but you really?
I can send you.
Yeah, I'd like to see. I don't know that much.
I will send you. If it, well, first off, it is on the town website, so you can look at the
Okay.
Vitus draft. I'll call it documentation on the town website. There should be a link to that. It includes a map and everything like that. We had a similar conversation with planning and zoning and asked them to familiarize themselves. Planning and zoning, we give them physical copies. Didn't really have a printer before this meeting. And also you guys tend to not want to kill trees as much. So this is a draft. I think it's more important when it comes for municipal comment that we look and consider the items then to see what it is. There's really not an input point from planning and zoning or from wetlands at this point, but we most likely will be looking to do something similar to what was done with NTE, do a
Yep.
joint public hearing with planning and zoning at the high school,
And then remarks after the fact.
and do it in the remarks after the fact and submit our comments to Connecticut Siting Council. This town is going to be a party to the application in terms of participating.
Okay.
That is the current standpoint right now. But as always, it's a draft application. When it's actually submitted, you're going to get more paperwork for it. But there's no problem you guys looking at it. I have some documentation that we had sent out to Planning and Zoning from from APA, American Planning Association, that happened to be this month on battery storage facilities and what to look at and what to consider and things to understand with it. One of the biggest
How large will this be?
20 acres.
The construction will involve.
So this is not like one structure. It's not a big structure. They're individual storage containers. They're self-contained units. They get spaced out. They look like shipping containers like in a field, which might be an oversimplification. But they are meant based off of the draft documentation, and I encourage you all to look through and read it. They are meant to be self-contained. They have sophisticated reporting systems and alarms, and according to the documentation, if one were to have a failure, like catastrophic failure, start burning, it's all internal. The recommendation is to let it burn itself out. Similar to, and this is me ad-libbing, so I don't think they make this comparison, but similar to an electric car. Electric cars, you can't typically, they take a lot of water to douse.
Yeah,
You pretty much have to let them burn, but this is meant to be in a contained unit to prevent emission
Spread.
into
This
the groundwater and all that kind of stuff.
The batteries on the electric car had read were exploding and.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
that's
So
like what
some of them have had some
Why?
pretty significant
Why wouldn't it?
failures. So,
happened.
but this is a unique application. It's we're talking $1 billion+ type of development. So it'd be interesting to see their whole package. They're going to do some informational things, and us as residents are encouraged to attend, or anyone and that's interested at the high school. They're going to do an informational one, I believe, in a week or so.
It's on the 4th.
On the
I
4th.
just read.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's posted outside. It's on the 4th. So that will be at the high school. I think we can also watch it online, but in person, I don't know if there's a question and answer period as well. So, but to make you aware, that's coming up. That's my attempt at town council liaison, to give you a little bit of update on stuff. But am not that. So, otherwise, if you guys want to adjourn.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Oh, second. Oh, third
All in
it,
favor?
Third it. Sorry, sir. You have to nudge me a little bit.